Hello everyone, Rovio published its Q2 results today, and we're going to talk about the results and some other topics with Rovio CEO Alexandre Pelletier-Normand. Hi Alex.
Hi, thank you for having me again.
Yeah, if we look at the overall mobile gaming market, it's been a quite tough year for the mobile gaming, and the market continued its decline during Q2. So how was Rovio's game portfolio performing in this challenging market?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the beginning of the year has been rocky in the market, and Q2 as well. So if we look, the analysis that we see on the market shows about 18-19% decline year on year. So that's pretty big. We're not used to this. And in that context, right, when we compare to the market, we did really well. And that's, because of the performance of games like Angry Birds 2, Angry Birds Friends. If you look at Angry Birds 2, for instance, even in comparable currency in the US, it grew 8% year on year when the market declined 18%, right? So that's pretty remarkable. It shows the resilience of those games. So we're very happy about that. And I think we have the right strategy. We're working with brands, Angry Birds, but we want to work with other brands. We're working on wide appeal type of games, which fits well with the current market. So I think we have the right strategy. And I have to say as well that I'm very proud of the teams, because it's never easy to operate in such an environment, and they delivered, they operated, they executed on the strategy, and it went very well. So a bit of a tough quarter, but relatively speaking, compared to the market, we clearly outperformed.
Yeah, still your profitability was pretty nice. Was there anything specific behind that?
Well, yeah, the profitability was high. We had a higher top line than last year, and the UA investment, even though in absolute value they were similar, but in percentage they were lower, so that gave a better profitability. So, yeah. Yeah.
Then let's talk about your latest game launch, Angry Birds Journey. It had quite a flying start in January when you launched it, but you had to scale down the user acquisition during Q2. So what's the situation with the game right now?
Yeah, that's a fair question. When we launched it at the beginning of the year, we really scaled fast in user acquisition. We really saw opportunities there, and the returns were there as well. And then that didn't last for a very long period of time. At some point, we had to scale down our user acquisition. So it's lower, or it was lower in Q2 than it was in Q1, definitely. So I think it was a bit of a tough time to launch the game. But now, I'm discussing with the team, and we have, full of ideas on how to improve this. So they're working on different things. For instance, the difficulty level, so that the game is even more inclusive and it's fun for everybody. For instance, if you're super good at those type of games, and for you the levels are easy, then the level of difficulty is going to adjust itself. So you still have a challenge. They're adding a metagame as well. So I would say that at the beginning of a game like this, there's a lot of opportunities, right? So, and the teams are full of ideas. So let's see how it develops in the next few quarters.
All right, we'll see that. Let's then talk about Ruby games. How was Ruby's second quarter? And everybody expects or is waiting for the Hunter Assassin 2. So how it is developing in the soft launch?
Yeah, so Ruby. So when we do pro forma comparison, right? Because they were not consolidated back in Q2 last year, but they grew 23%, right? So they're doing very well. Now it is fair to also do a comparison quarter on quarter for Ruby, and it is softer this quarter. And this was caused by the fact that when there's inflation on the market, one of the things that is being changed is the advertisers are sometimes cutting budgets. So since they monetize today mostly in advertising, that was affected by the market situation. But again, good growth year on year. And then on to Assassins 2. The game is progressing well. I mean, it's a game that, remember, the Hunter Assassin 1 was an hyper casual game, so very short lived for players. And then when they started working on Hunter Assassins 2, without surprise, that was the main issue that we saw. So early retention was really good, and then longer term retention was a little bit softer. So what they did now in the quarter is that they worked on an online multiplayer mode, right? A PvP mode. And I've played it. It's super fun, and we're confident that this type of mechanics will increase long-term engagement. But this is going to be tested on the market towards the end of Q3, so that we're really parting from hyper casual game monetizing through advertising towards much more of a what they call mid casual type of game that will monetize through in-apps, and is quite complex actually.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more about Ruby. The acquisition's purchase price, 50% of that is coming due in October. So how you're seeing the launch of Hunter Assassin? Is there does Ruby has hurry to get the game launched, or are they just waiting and are happy with the purchase price even though the game is not launched before that?
I think that's a valid question, but what we observe and what we see in our discussions, right, is that they're not. It's not the way that they're thinking. They're really trying to have the best game out there, and that really comes from them, right? One of the reasons why they wanted to be part of the Rovio family is that they thought that they could learn new things, and they're not in a rush to release the game. If they would have been, they would have released it earlier during the year. Now, realistically speaking, for this earn-out period that you're talking about, they're not going to be on time to see most of the revenues. Whatever happens at this point. So their really number one focus is the game and the players. And, they're still confident that the game is going to be good. So they're not thinking about short-term earnouts here.
Yeah, that sounds good. Do you want to mention any other highlights from your development pipeline? I think at least there was some news about Moomin games.
Yeah, there is some news about Moomin games, and I think it's good to remember that for this game, the main market we're targeting is Japan. Of course, the Moomin is a Finnish brand, so it's very well known in the Nordics, but those countries are relatively small. Whereas in Japan, it's very well known as well. It's one of the top brands there, and it's a bigger market as well. So that's the number one market. So we did a market test during the quarter, and the idea there is to do it as fast as possible. So limited content, limited version of the game, and what we want to see is what is the cost of acquiring users there, and do we see good early retention metrics? So we did that during the summer. We saw good results. We were pleased by what we saw. So now we move to the next phase. And the next phase is that we add new content, and we're going to do another test to see, what's the longer term retention. So certainly promising on this game for now, but let's see, how this continues to unfold, because as you know, when a game is in soft launch, you never know exactly how it's going to turn out.
Yeah. At your Capital Markets Day in May, you highlighted your internal Beacon technology platform. So could you give us a brief summary why it's important for your growth strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it's something that is even, more and more important in today's market. So what is Beacon, right? So for us, it's all of the people that are working centrally at Rovio and the tools that are also central that we provide to all of the teams in the company so that they can, focus on the content of their game, and they don't have to worry about, user acquisition, analytics, or, how to make tools to create events and to create offers. So it really allows them to concentrate on the content itself. So I think it's really, important in this industry that is, as quite complex, right? So the more we have games using our Beacon platform, the better it becomes, because we centralize all of our learnings into this. So that also becomes a quite interesting selling point when we're discussing to, potential company to be acquired. So that's why it's such an important cornerstone of the strategy.
Yeah. And at final, let's talk a little bit more about your outlook. So how do you see the market developing? Do you expect the market weakness to continue and affect your games portfolio? And how do you see do you have chances to increase user acquisition in the coming quarters?
That's a good question. And when we think about, the end of the year, you saw how dynamic the market was at the beginning. So it's kind of hard to predict at this level. What I can say, is like what I see in the very short term and in the very long term. And what we see in the short term is that indeed we see that there seemed to be a little bit more momentum in user acquisition, for instance, and in, as a result in top line for some of our games, like for instance, Angry Birds Dream Blast is doing very well. Angry Birds 2 is slightly better as well so far in the quarter. So let's see if this momentum continues, but it seems that things are changing a little bit on the UA landscape on that front. And then, of course, in the long term, we know that those headwinds that we're seeing right now are going to be, something that will turn at some point. We're still very much believing in the, long term for the mobile gaming industry. We know it's going to continue to grow, but there's a couple of complicated months that we had, given the macroeconomic situation out there. But as said, at the very beginning of this call, I think we have the right strategy to navigate through those headwinds. And I think we proved it because, as I said, again, we clearly, outperformed the market so far.
All right. Thanks, Alex, for the interview.
Thank you.